Trooper A1 The Purple Blitzkrieg by Gabrielle Marie Kozak. Book 1 of the Trooper series. Narrated by the author. Chapter 11. It was then that Trooper discovered that if his decision-making and thinking was slow and foggy, his ability to obey was not impaired in the least. The instant after his mind processed the cool command, he turned to face his two opponents and sized them up. Both were slightly shorter than him and had the advantage of the protection that their suits afforded them. Trooper, on the other hand, had no protection at all except for the tunic he wore. Nevertheless, the command had been given, and Trooper's mental state left him with no choice but immediate obedience. Therefore he charged. The other two had obviously been expecting the match and had their own orders, for they made no effort to retrieve the rifles they carried on their backs, but instead waited for Trooper with trained serenity. Unperturbed, Trooper slammed his fist into the first of them. The fight had begun. 3 hours later, Trooper had reached the point of intense physical exhaustion. Lyndon had him fighting non-stop against ever-increasing numbers. Trooper seemed to have had no training at all, but he pulverized 6, held his own against 15, and was now gradually losing to about 20. His breath came in great, drawn-out gasps as he continued to throw punches and dodge blows. Still they came, on and on. Then came relief in the form of a shout that Trooper barely heard over the pounding in his ears. "Stop!" It was Lyndon's voice. The soldiers stepped back, leaving Trooper to lean against the wall he had gotten against his back and pant for breath. Bruises were forming all over him. He felt like collapsing. Lyndon walked over to him, looking him over. He nodded, smiling. "Good. Excellent. Those will heal," he added, noting Trooper's puzzled expression. His face fell. "You really disappoint me. No militant schooling at all. But what else to expect from a 16-year-old? That answered one of the questions still racing through Trooper's mind, or at least the part of it that wasn't in control. So he was 16, was he? He locked eyes with Lyndon, desperate to speak of his own accord. He just couldn't understand why not, but somehow it felt physically impossible. He, the real he, was caged. Lyndon ignored the eye contact, staring back for a moment before looking away. "Dr. Lafferty, can you take Trooper A1 to his new quarters? And, Dr. Pizet, start the process of collecting an army, will you?" He smiled. 200 security are not enough to take over an entire nation. A few minutes later, Trooper found himself alone in a tiny bare room with a rude cot and a closet. He turned as the door clicked shut behind him. There was no knob on the inside. There was nothing more to see, and he was still exhausted, so he collapsed on the cot, falling asleep almost instantly. Later. He is outside, wearing a uniform like those of the security he was fighting earlier. From neck to foot, over his other clothes, it is a seamless suit, plated with some kind of hard material, yet the inside is as pliant and supple as a diver's suit. Overall, the thing is surprisingly light. His head is protected by a helmet made of the same hard exterior substance, but the inside is cushioned. Over his eyes is a dark eye shade, tinted so that what he sees is various shades of purple. He looks up at the sun and notices that the visor deflects the sun's light from his eyes completely, so that he can actually see the sun. It is white with just the slightest tinge of purple. When he looks down again, his neck aching slightly, the setting has changed. He is still outside, but on the roof of some high building. It looks like a school building, at least 6 stories high. There is a scraping sound, loud in his sharp ears as amplified by the helmet. He wheels around. A girl of about 16 is standing on the roof. Her shoulder-length, light-colored hair waves about wildly in the wind that seems to be trying to blow her away. But she keeps her balance on the flat roof, staring away from him. She is wearing what is obviously a school outfit, blouse, skirt, tights, and sneakers. Trooper hears a loud voice suddenly, coming through a communications system on his helmet. "Clear the roof." It is Lyndon's voice. Trooper glances down at the gun in his hand, then back at the girl. She obviously has no idea he is there. Every instinct of the captive Trooper revolts against the order, but the robot Trooper knows only how to obey. Mechanically, he cocks the rifle. It is already loaded. Slowly, Trooper lifts it, taking perfect aim. For a moment, it almost seems that he is regaining control over himself. His hand wavers and sweat breaks out on his forehead. But inexorably, his fingers tighten. Suddenly, the girl turns around, and her dark, deep eyes widen in shock. Her mouth opens in a silent scream that the wind carries away before Trooper can hear it. But suddenly Trooper realizes he knows this person. He doesn't know her name, and he doesn't know why he knows her, but he knows her. And then somehow he is in control. He relentlessly forces himself to ignore the radio command and lower his weapon. But there is a sharp pain in his right wrist, and the gun falls from his grasp. The sting goes away, but his hand feels paralyzed. Trooper sprang up on the cot, his breath coming quick and fast. For the first time in his memory, he felt awake. He looked around the small room, new panic rising to the surface. His eyes darted from the knobless door back to the clothes he was wearing, and vivid in his imagination was the image of the girl he had seen. He had seen her before, he knew that. There was another sting. He glanced at his right wrist and saw the strap Lyndon had put there earlier in the long, weary day. His only guess was that it was injecting something into him, and that accelerated the 16-year-old's fright. But even as he flipped his hand over to see if he could find a way to get it off, he lost control. He closed his eyes and tried hard to remember his dream, which seemed to have linked him to his forgotten past. But it was already fading away. That day began a new life for Trooper, new in the truest sense of the word. Every morning was an automated injection, every day was training, and every night was either experimentation or sleep. As the days went by, he stopped dreaming. The unknown past was non-existent. There was only the present. The scared, confused 16-year-old dissolved into the tall, silent, powerful, and dangerous machine, willing and eager to carry out his superior's every command. But that was just the beginning.